Hi everyone, I am Heather, and I want to welcome you to Magnificent Authors Podcast, brought to you by Magnificent Mamas. This is the show where we'll celebrate the magic of storytelling and the power of words. I'm your host, Heather, and each week I'll be sitting down with incredible authors from all walks of life to explore their creative journeys, uncover their writing secrets, and delve into worlds they create. Whether you are an aspiring writer, a passionate reader, or simply curious about the minds behind your favorite books, this is the podcast for you. So grab a cozy blanket, pour yourself a cup of tea, and get ready to be inspired by the magnificent authors who join us. Let's dive in. Hi everyone, I am Heather with Magnificent Mamas and Magnificent Authors Podcast. We're joined here today with author Liz Crowe. Liz, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Liz. Hope everyone's having a great day today. I'm here in Greenville, South Carolina, where it's hot already.
It's 76 where I'm at right now, and this is with it raining and everything like that.
Yeah, no, it's 80-something here. For real, summer. We skipped spring.
Yeah, I wondered what happened to spring, and it's, I think there was like one day of spring weather, and then it's jumping to summer. I heard like the Philippines and stuff like that, it's like 122 degrees.
Oh my God.
And it's not even summer yet.
So
it's crazy.
It is.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about your book?
Sure. De-sac is my first domestic suspense novel that I'm publishing. It is a story about relationships. I've written a fair number of romance novels, and I like writing those because I love writing about relationships and letting the characters drive the story. So I kind of thought, okay, I can do this with a different kind of a genre, because it's my second favorite genre.
Yeah.
And so, so it releases June 11th. And it's about, let's see, I always describe it as Big Little Lies, right? That book and TV show, only in a Midwest college town. So it's that kind of intrigue. It's kind of neighbors and friends or people you think you're friends kind of
right. Awesome. It sounds good. So you write romance as well.
I do.
Do you want to share about those books as well, or just?
I can. I mean, I've got 30 plus books in my backlist. And they're all available. Almost all of them are available on Amazon, Apple, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, the usual places.
Yeah.
I'm working on getting this book into some stores, and once I do that, I'm going to get some of my romance novels into those stores here locally. But yeah, it's mostly series because, again, I love relationships, and I kind of let my my imagination extend to secondary characters a lot, and so they end up with their own books and stories.
I totally get that.
Yeah, I get too attached to secondary characters, so I'm like, oh, this guy needs a book, so I write him a book. But I know some in the past, I've gotten a couple of podcasters and interviewers and reviewers saying that what I like to write is kind of workplace romance, I guess. Most of my stories, most of the series are set around specific types of workplaces. So my best-selling series is set in Ann Arbor, where I lived for many years, and it's about real.
Okay, I'm from Michigan.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we lived there for 17 years, I guess. Yeah, my kids were raised there. So that's my most successful series is about a set of real estate agents in Ann Arbor. I also had a brewery while I was there, so I've got several romance series set around the brewing world, if you will.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is definitely cool and different.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. You're using your real life experience to write with something you know about compared to writing something you know nothing about.
Yeah. I mean, I work in some things that if I don't know anything about them, I make sure I get educated about them before I include it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's super important. And I don't know about you, but like, so I write sci-fi fantasy, and like I can start researching something and go on a tangent for days, just
the rabbit hole, right?
Jumping from researching one thing to like 5 other ideas, and
I can only imagine.
I love it though. I love researching. I think that's one of my favorite things with What would you say your favorite thing of writing your newest novel would have been?
Being allowed to work free of certain expectations of genres, because I understand the genre of romance and what's expected. And I really enjoyed being able to not have a story end a certain way, because I believe that romance novels should adhere to the rule, which is they have to have a happy ending, preferably there's conflict that's fully resolved. And I do that in my romance novels. Now I have a lot of conflict before we get to the resolution. But there's always a resolution. And with this, I felt it was kind of a freeing thing to not be thinking about how I'm going to get these people back together at the end. You know what I mean?
Do you do like spicy, or is it just?
Oh yeah, very. Very.
I had somebody tell me the other day that they did like erotic romance, and I was just, hey, I've never read anything.
Oh yeah. Well, you could try one of mine. I mean, it's what it is I guess a good way to talk about it is, or refer to it as open door on the sex. Like I just don't close the door when they don't go have sex. It's not at all. I have a couple books that are more rom-com like, which don't really go into that so much as the others. But yeah, I'm primarily contemporary romance that's spicy. For sure. Yeah.
I definitely will have to check it out for sure.
Yeah. We'll talk about which one I think you should start with.
Okay. Definitely. For sure. What would you say your favorite thing about writing would be?
The way it lets me not think about what's going on in the real world. It's an escape. And I used to be better at kind of going away and into my own head I used to be better at it than I am now. And I've got plenty of books to sort of show that I can do that. That said, I don't write like my romances. I've been, let's say, accused of keeping it a little too real. Sometimes they're not. I let people kind of be people, and that's cool. I mean, I appreciate it if people don't want to read that. And I always say, this is pretty realistic. I've got people behaving badly, kind of like humans versus characters in a book. But it always works out fine for the main characters without a doubt. But I enjoy not thinking about the day to day. Then I can just drop into whatever I'm doing and allow myself that time, to just not be thinking about anything but what I need to get out of my head and onto the screen. I don't write on paper, I write on the screen. So
I was doing that back in the day, like when I was still in school, writing chapters upon chapters upon chapters on paper. And like I kind of wish now I still had some of that, but I would love to see how much the writing's changed from then to then.
Right. I didn't start writing till I was I wasn't in school. I have an English degree, but I didn't really consider myself wanting to write anything at that time. I was just a reader and, an analyzer of what I read. But when I started writing, it was well into computer time. So that's the only way I write. And that's the only way I can right now. I've tried. Like I thought, okay, I'll write down an idea. My handwriting is so bad, Heather, I can't even read it. So I'll look at it and go, what are these words? I don't know.
I don't even try anymore to make my handwriting nice.
Right.
I can read it and I don't care who else can or can't.
I can barely read it, so I don't even do it that much.
I know when it comes to like writing, at least for me, like my brain is going so fast trying to get all the words out. Handwriting it out I'd be way too behind.
Yeah, I can't keep up. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. The motor skill, the motor brain to typing is much easier to keep up with. Yeah.
I still, am way ahead and have to try to slow myself down. Even though, I've taken typing classes and computer classes, so I can type like 70 words a minute, but when my brain is going, it's like, okay, hurry up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotta get all the rest of this wrote down. And
For sure. Sometimes I think it's the exercise, the literal sort of motor exercise of brain to fingers to keyboard that is what I like about it. You know what I mean? It's almost like that exercise of that muscle, as it were. I enjoy, I do.
Definitely. I get it completely.
Yeah, it's pretty easy for me to crank a first draft. I don't get bogged down till later.
The editing or
the revising, the inevitable revising. And this book especially had that going big time.
I totally messed up on one, and I forgot like the capitalizations and stuff on one of the stories, and it was only like a couple chapters into it. So what do you enjoy to read? You said you like a wide variety.
I do. There's very little I don't read. I tell you what I don't read. I don't read historical romance, but I just made a liar out of myself because I just read, it's not a romance per se, and it's fictional. I mean, it's historical fiction. I love historical fiction. And almost every historical fiction book I've read, it has a relationship romance at the core of it. So I just finished My Dear Hamilton, which is the Alexander Hamilton story from his wife's perspective. That was co-written, and one of the women is Laura Kay, who wrote it. She's a romance writer. It was great. It was great. So it's basically a long romance between these two people and history, So let's see, I read Tsarina by Ellen Alpern, which was amazing, sort of Russian history, but with a core romance, So I love that. I love science fiction. I love, I don't know. I mean, my favorite author, overarching authors are across the board. Margaret Atwood, but I like her. I like the Oryx and Crake trilogy better than anything she's ever written. Granted, I've read everything she writes, and I love like The Robber Bride is a great book. But I love the Oryx and Crake sort of, that trilogy is amazing to me. I love Don Winslow. I got to go meet him last week in Charleston. He writes crime novels.
Nice.
Love him. Leanne Moriarty is one of my absolute all-time favorites. She wrote Big Little Lies. And I always argue with people who are also her fans. I don't think that's her best book. I don't know why they haven't made a movie out of The Husband's Secret. Oh, what a great book, right? I like rom-coms. I love solid rom-coms, like old-timey rom-coms that are a laugh out loud kind of.
Oh yeah, definitely.
People in relationships just doing stupid things, but it's funny. I mean, I love that. I've read everything Stephen King has ever written. I don't like it all, but I really, really enjoy a lot of. I love his psychology. I love his books that are the sequel to The Shining, Dr. Sleep.
Dr. Sleep. Yeah.
Holy cow. I love that book because it was all in his head, right? It was all like recovery, which actually I write about a lot. But it's all the psychology of his characters. I've always thought, even given his most gory horror stuff, which I'm not a huge fan of, I still think he's manages to get in people's heads in ways that I admire.
Definitely. He definitely gets in people's heads. His books are amazing.
Let's see, I just finished I do a lot of audiobooks, but we just finished listening to John Scalzi. You probably know him, sci-fi guy. He's a hoot. I like it when it's funny. I also like it when it's hard science, which I'm not a hard scientist, but I'm married to one, and I have 3 kids who are STEM employed. So somehow it's in me. But I love Andy Weir. Okay. I love The Martian. I love the new one, Project Hail Mary. Oh, that's a great book.
Check that one out.
So good. So yeah, so I kind of read it all. Really.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What would you say that you don't read? Can you answer that?
I don't read, and I don't read a ton of nonfiction. I listen to it though. As a huge fan of the musical Hamilton, I decided I wanted to read the book, the source material, right? The original book that he bought the rights to create the musical. And I couldn't read it, but I listened to it, and it reads like a fiction novel. And so I read his, oh God, what's his name? It escapes me now, but he's written 2 other big old biographies that I've listened to. One is Ulysses S. Grant, so it's called Grant. And then he did one for George Washington.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I can't. I listen to those. I don't read I don't read nonfiction. Other than that, though, I don't read like self-help books or that kind of thing.
I've got one here that I'm reviewing. It's shit. Oh, I thought it was like 900 pages. It's like 400 and
that's a lot.
500 pages exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Stronger than stress.
Oh yeah. No, I don't do that so much. I don't read. No, I've read like I really enjoyed Charlene Harris books. You know, the True Blood lady. I thought those were a stitch. I loved those. I love what they did with them on TV too. I thought they did a great job.
Did you like the books better than the TV show?
I liked them both equally, I think. I thought they adhered to it pretty faithfully, kind of the core concept of what she was doing, kept it kind of funny, which I think was a lot of her point. You know, I think she's good at humor. Yeah. So, I mean, there's very little I won't read. I mean, I guess there's a fair bit of romance that I don't want to read just because I am not, I don't read like Christian romance and that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
that doesn't mean it's not good. It's just, it's not for me.
I understand completely. I get it. Some stuff I can do and some stuff is just a little too, I don't want to say pushy, but a little too, I'm trying to think of a word that's not offensive.
Well, I don't like it. I don't like it if it's not realistic. And that doesn't mean I don't read fantasy because I do. Because I love N.K. Jemisin books, and I also love what's his name who read The Girl with All the Gifts, that book. That author wrote a trilogy that's kind of total fantasy. That's awesome. But I guess I don't like books that are too easy to tie up in a bow, I guess. And again, there's plenty of that, and there's definitely a market for that, and people who enjoy that really enjoy that, and they definitely should enjoy that. That's just not for me.
No, I get it completely. And, you know, I think I like to have a lot of realistic stuff in my stories, you know? So, you know, my main setting is Earth, you know, present day, real people, but there's lots of science, fantasy.
Right. Yeah.
If I could speak today, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Did you watch For All Mankind? Have you seen that show? Oh gosh, so good. It is a revisionist history starts with who got to the moon first. Yeah, so in this story, and it's 8-9 seasons deep on Apple, and I just got sucked into that. So in this, the initial sort of the conceit of this is that Russia got to the moon first, and that changed the trajectory of how the U.S. thought about and handled space from that moment on, and it changed everything about history. Oh my God, so creative. Oof.
Awesome. That would be wild to read something like that for sure. It'd be wild if, you know, history was like that a little bit too.
Oh yeah, it's fun to watch. They do a great job too with the if it could have happened this way, this is what it would look like moments. They did it. Yeah, it's excellent.
That's awesome. Yeah. That is very cool. Who would you say in your books is your favorite character that you've wrote about?
In this book or generally?
Whichever one. It's up to you.
I'm awfully attached to the main couple in the Realty series, Stewart Realty series, just because it was my first serious attempt at writing novels that included more than one couple and really exploring kind of fleshing these people out into having relationships other than with each other. And Ann Arbor, I lived there longer than anywhere, so it's very deep Ann Arbor, right? So it's very rooted there. Yeah, so it's Jack and Sarah is this couple, and that's where I got my first sort of set of hardcore fans is with that series. So yeah, I awesome. Really and I take them all the way through from moment 10 books in this series, and they go all the way through into the second generation. So
that's wild. Are they all in like a chronological order or?
Yep. Yep. All 10 of them. Yeah.
That's wild. That is a lot of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do your friends and family think of your writing?
What do they think of it?
Mhm.
The ones who like to read romance have read every bit of it and love it. You know,
That's
the ones who prefer not to read romance think it's very cool that I have written that many books. Yeah. Yeah. I don't write under a pen name. I'm Liz Crowe. That's me. Sure.
What kind of advice would you have for aspiring authors? You've accomplished so much and written so many books. What would you tell new authors?
Don't go into it thinking you're going to be successful or famous right away or at all. Judge for yourself what makes you successful. Don't measure your success against anyone else's. Because I feel successful. I mean, would I like to be a bestseller? Sure. Would I wish one person might pick up one of my books and like see the light? Sure. Is that going to happen? Probably not. And you have to come to your own decision or your own moment where you are okay with that and continue to write. I write the books I want to read.
That's awesome. Yeah, me too. I know I talked to an author once, probably 5 months ago or so, and he was like, well, I put my book on Amazon, but that was kind of it. No promoting, no marketing,
right?
No beta readers, ARC readers. I was like, oh,
yeah.
He's like, I didn't know I needed to do any of this.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, I learned that the hard way too. But my job I do. I've always done sales and marketing and public relations, and I'm a consultant right now I do digital marketing consulting for realtors and lawyers and stuff. And so I know. I mean, I knew going into it. I didn't realize how much of it was going to be required of me. But now I do.
Yeah. And that's the thing, though. Some people go into it for the wrong reasons. I think, and I'm not saying they're not bad writers or anything by any means, so don't get me, on that one. But I think somebody passionate, like really, really passionate about writing is in it to share the story and not care, how much sales, how much money you make.
Right.
Because they just want people to read it and enjoy it. And that's how I am.
I mean, that's where I am now, and I've always wanted to stretch into new genres. So this is my first step in that direction. I've got a couple of books that are in editing process that will also come out in the next several years that are not romance. But my book next year, my big release next year is going to be a rom-com. I've got a collaboration set up for it, which is cool. So, you work at the level you want to work at and don't stop. It's a marathon, not a sprint, but you need to bring some snacks and water because it's more than a marathon.
Oh, really. I get it completely.
Yeah. And it's easy to give up. It's easy to give up. And if that's fine, if you do, cool. I gave up for a couple years, stopped doing anything, and I just wasn't happy. So
I get it. Do you have any advice for people that suffer from like writer's block or anything like that?
I don't.
You don't ever suffer from it?
I do. I get it. I have it. And I think everyone has to kind of cope with that their own way. I didn't have it for a lot of years. I had so many stories spilling out of me that I could not keep up. There was not enough hours in the day for me to get them out there. I'm at kind of the opposite end of that now, and I'm writing a little more carefully. But once I get going on one project, I don't work on anything but one project at a time. I'm a marathoner on the project. Like I don't stop until it's done. Like I'll write it all hours. I've never had, I guess, what I'd call legitimate writer's block. It's good. And I think I've helped myself by using my Substack newsletter to just say things, I guess I have some advice. Write something completely outside of what you're doing. Maybe write a blog post, write a newsletter, write a bunch of social media posts, do something writing that is not the book, and do that for a while. It kind of like loosens things up, I guess.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I do have to wrap up, unfortunately. This has been fun, and it's been nice to get to know you a little bit more.
You too. Yeah, let's talk offline. I'll beta read for you.
Definitely. We can talk about that here in just a second. For everyone listening, make sure you check out Liz Crowe's novels, romance. You know, she's got tons of books for you to check out, just waiting, calling your name. So make sure you connect with her. You check out her books on Amazon. And just thank you so much for taking the time to talk and share your books and connect.
Yeah, thank you, Heather. It was great.
Definitely. All right, everyone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Thank you. And that's a wrap on another episode of Magnificent Authors Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure to share another inspiring conversation with a talented author. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to Magnificent Authors Podcast so you don't miss any of our upcoming conversations with amazing writers. And be sure to check out Magnificent Mamas on our website, which is www.magnificentmamas.us, or on our Facebook page for more inspiring content from incredible authors. I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's episode. What resonated with you the most? Head over to Facebook or leave a comment on our website and let me know. Until next time, keep reading, keep writing, and keep those imaginations soaring.